Hey everybody, this is Dr. Allison. I hope you're doing well. We're at the point of the semester where we can now get into the topic of global market expansions and what does it mean? What considerations do you have to have as a business to look at expanding your business globally and into foreign markets? There's definite ways to do this. All the things we've discussed so far in the class when it comes to, legal parameters, understanding the foreign exchange systems and how currency can be exchanged from country to country. A lot of those are the nuts and bolts of how to understand the kind of constraints and barriers to go to market. But now we need to talk about more of the strategy aspect, taking your business from a strategic thinker perspective and a manager, and think about the considerations of what does it mean to expand your business globally into new markets and expand your business across the globe. So let's get into the lecture. One of the first things to consider when wanting to expand your business globally is what arena or sales channel do you want to partake in? One emerging channel that we all know about is e-commerce. E-commerce has been growing year over year from about a 4% total of sales in retail and in business about 5 or 6 years ago to the most recent couple of years. It's grown to almost 9 to 10% of a lot of businesses, and it's projected to grow even further from there. There's projections that in the 2020s and 2030s, it could be anywhere from 15 to 25% of sales. And so e-commerce and online shopping is only going to continue to grow. One assessment now in 2018 and beyond is what are you going to do with your business in terms of e-commerce if you can. It's actually sometimes I wouldn't say the most easy but more efficient way to get your business more globally into their markets, as you at times don't have to set up storefronts in different countries. All you have to do is have an online channel and some fulfillment type method to those target countries that you're going to target your global expansion. There are three primary things you have to consider when you are looking to expand your business globally in e-commerce or online. The first is finding your target markets. The second is considering different international payment methods and how you're going to transact your goods and services from one country to another. And then number three, how are you going to enter that new market while you're online? And online shopping and e-commerce is generally global, and the internet you can access anywhere. You still have to find ways to market and target your customers to get them interested into your business in e-commerce. We're going to go over each of these three different considerations in more detail. First activity and analysis you need to conduct when looking to expand your business globally. This can go for both e-commerce and if you're trying to establish a physical presence in a foreign market. But let's keep with the theme of e-commerce for the moment. Is first you need to gather market intelligence. You need to start by looking at internal data to see from which countries people are already buying your products. So if you're already having some distribution of your products or services internationally, then you know what countries are already interested in customers in foreign markets that have interest in your products already. You may not have direct sales into that country. You may have indirect sales from distribution or some type of way that consumers navigate to your product, or you found a demand for it based on further market intelligence. So what you need to try to do is expand further into these markets, even if only to test selling specific products. Perhaps you want to just do a small market test, get the products in the hands of a select sample of customers, and do market research. Survey those customers, find ways to get their feedback to see if the scale is there in that market, and if the respondents, either a survey or some type of case study, can give you the information to see about expanding further. There are research tools available from government agencies like the U.S. Small Business Administration and Export.gov. This is good and useful for any business looking to expand and find tools. These websites offer free planning tools and downloadable templates to help find the best markets for products and also price strategies and more. So there are resources you can leverage within these websites to help you expand. At times, though, if you're a more, this is for smaller businesses, if you're a more well-known corporation, you may not need this support. You have already best-in-class business practices on how to go to market already established. You just need to find the information and the market intelligence to help you justify if you need to expand globally or not. And then you also need to do more research on the demand and local buying trends. To help develop your target markets, research the top countries that have strong demand for your products or niche specialty. Is there a demand or gap in that market? So in that market, do they not have a solution to a problem that you already can solve with your product? There's times where products in the United States are developed and they solve a problem for the US culture, but it could be more of a global problem, a very common issue that no matter what country or culture you're a part of, that you could probably find useful in a product or service in the United States. So it's wondering if your solution is global in nature. Is it something that can be readily useful across the world or in a particular market? While you're at it, try to learn as much as you can about consumer spending patterns and from which countries they typically buy. So what's really important too is, can the foreign market you're looking to expand into afford your product? Are your price points and your prices relatively competitive? You have to look at how you're selling it in your host country, but is it too expensive to expand into the foreign country? That's something you need to consider too, is can your customers afford your product or service? And their buying habits. What this means is, when do consumers spend? In the United States, we see that in the middle of the month, because of the first month rent or mortgage checks for a lot of individuals, the middle of the month is where a lot more spending can happen because they have more disposable income in the middle of the month. Is your product more seasonal? Is there only parts of the year where your consumers will only buy your product because it's a seasonal product? Is it a giftable product, as in a gift item that will only be bought during specific holidays or celebrations? All those types of things need to be considered, as buying habits can shift from country to country. For instance, online shoppers from smaller countries are probably more likely to make international purchases, and they're likely to spend in larger international markets like the US, Canada, and Australia. What this means is that if you're trying to establish a business in a smaller country, you may just need to find a way to distribute it from the United States or a larger country. You may not have to actually fulfill your product and have a physical footprint in a smaller country. You just need to find ways to get it to that country. A lot of the times it just means understanding international shipping, the cost of shipping international, and all the international laws that take place when it comes to trade, tariffs, and the other things we talked about earlier in this class. A helpful resource that's out there is the PayPal Passport site, which is a wealth of information about global buying trends for specific countries. So if you're interested about a specific country and what it means to do e-commerce business there, that's a good reference for you. For instance, you can see top shopping categories, how often shoppers purchase from countries like the US, buying motivations, and potential barriers by country. It also summarizes the local customers, trends, taboos, and even holidays of each country, so your brand offers a truly localized shopping experience for customers. So this PayPal Passport website is a great site if you're looking to find information about a particular country, the shopping patterns, the holidays they celebrate, because there could be holidays in a foreign country you may not recognize that your product may be a good option for. So truly understanding the market, its environment, how consumers behave, just like you would in your host country, is even more critically important when you're looking to expand your business into foreign markets. The next big consideration, especially in e-commerce, from a global market expansion perspective, is consideration of different international payment methods. This is an important step because checkout is the point in which international shoppers tend to abandon their purchases, either because their preferred payment method isn't available or because they don't feel confident in payment will be handled securely. What this means is you have to have a smooth checkout process. When a customer is at the point of checking out of their cart or on the website that they are looking at, if they don't feel secure that their payment method is going to be, information won't be shared, it's a secured payment process, there are times they're going to abandon their purchase and have a change of heart. So what you need to do is research local buyers' preferred payment methods. These vary significantly depending on the country, and it's important to find out what's best for the markets in which you're trying to sell. For example, 60% of payments are by direct debit in the Netherlands, while Germans make 46% of payments by online bank transfer. So you need to understand, does your foreign market you're going into prefer debit transactions, wire transfers, credit cards. I mean, quite frankly, there are various ways you can do electronic payments. You just have to find out in your foreign market or country what is the most preferred payment methods and finding a system provider or solution to that payment method. In general, people prefer paying in a familiar currency, ideally their local currency. Some global payment providers will let you list products in a number of different currencies. So for example, if you have a website you can sell in multiple countries, they will, cater to the local market in that country's currency type, list it and say that they accept that form of payment in that currency. If that's a tool your provider offers, you should use it. That's definitely going to help with the more secure feeling, the trust factor between you and your customers, and make more checkouts and abandonment of your shoppers. If you're not offering a payment in your local currency, make sure to give a currency conversion so customers can see what they're paying. So, for example, if you're trying to translate US dollars to euros, you don't want to list out US dollars to a European market where they use euros. You want to make sure that the European market you're working under or for has a euros translation so they can understand the impact of their currency exchange. And then one thing you really want to do is choose a payment provider with a reputation for security. There's no more abandonment issue than the feeling of not being secure with your payment. I think you could even justify that every payment you make, whether in-store, online, or wherever you go, you want to feel secure in your payment. Looking for a payment provider with strong global reputation. PayPal is a strong one, for instance, that consistently ranks among the top payment providers out there in international payment methods and its security. This is good to have on a e-commerce website. If you're looking to expand your global business, you want to have a payment provider that's globally known and has very secure access. So you've done your market research, you understand your target foreign markets, you understand your customers in those foreign markets, how they shop, how they behave, and their preferred payment methods, and you've then found a solution, a payment provider who can provide a secure, seamless transactional process for your customers. Now you need to plan how you're going to enter those foreign markets. First, you would start with a small assortment, a small product launch on an existing online marketplace. You wouldn't go with all your assortment. You'd go with a select number of, top products or services on an already established marketplace. Sometimes we call this third-party selling. For example, on Amazon, a lot of marketplaces, a lot of businesses sell on Amazon and ship third-party. This is very common. So maybe, a global Amazon type website, you can establish your business and just start selling in that market to see if customers will resonate with your products, see if they can resonate with your pricing and what you stand for. From there, you can say, all right, I have an established footprint, I'm selling my products. Then you can optimize your own website. Perhaps you take it off a marketplace like Amazon and you create your own website, or you sell on Amazon and your own website. But optimization of your own website is important. Having your own host URL will even establish more credibility with your global customers. They'll understand you're legit, that you're trustworthy, that you have a secure website that they can shop on. This will look even more attractive, especially if you're trying to expand your business in more countries over time. And you can even create a custom website for certain markets. Perhaps your marketing strategy needs to be different in certain foreign countries. You need to have different types of market messaging, market branding, or content to resonate with different markets. This is very important to understand this and have an e-commerce platform that can create a personalized experience for any market that you're in. Okay, shifting gears slightly from just looking at e-commerce, just in general, what does it mean to expand your business globally into different markets? Well, there are 7 key strategies to build your way up to expand globally. The very first strategy is to increase your sales and products in existing markets. So one thing you can do before you want to establish yourself in a global perspective is make sure you have an established footprint in the current markets that you're in. Dominate the markets that you're in because it's going to make it a lot more plausible and resonate more with international customers if your host country that you're in has an established footprint. It's going to be a lot more difficult to establish yourself internationally if your own host country that you're in doesn't understand your products or doesn't resonate with your products. Some tactics you could do by doing this are get a bigger location, offer different pricing strategies for your current market, get new and improved marketing techniques. Do what you need to do to ensure that there's a large base in your home country, because that's what starts. It's that grassroots marketing, word of mouth. If your host country can adopt your product, it's going to be a little difficult for you to expand globally. The second strategy you can do to, offer yourself a chance to expand globally is introduce a new product. If you have a successful product or service that's been offering out there some time in the market, you've been collecting data, customer feedback, start thinking about a new product, maybe a new version of your product or a whole differentiated product in the market. This is how you can establish yourself from an expansion perspective. If you've had a product in your host country for a relative period of time, perhaps you can develop something that's different, unique, but then take it to the next step. While you develop that new product for your host country, maybe find a way to market it internationally, get it out there in a global perspective. That way you can cast a wider net of an audience, get more customers, and they can adopt your new product while still adopting your existing product in those global markets. And then you always want to make sure you find new market segments or move into a new geography. So in the United States, for example, you could have a product that's really well known in the northeast part of the country. Let's say there's a coffee brand that really resonates in New England, and there's a bunch of New England coffee shops and stores that carry your product. Well, generally you'll start small and work your way up. Then you'll want to find ways to expand across the United States. While you're still in your host country, expanding across the United States, because we are such a large country, is one way you can strategically position yourself to explore global expansion at some point. You'll start in New England and you'll start going to the southeast, and then you'll find opportunities to move all the way out west. And at some point, you'll have a bigger established footprint in the United States of your product where you can adopt the idea of expanding globally at that point. It all starts small. You want to start small no matter what you do when you expand globally. You're not going to go out and be in a bunch of different foreign markets at once. That's very rare. It's starting small and working your way up. And at times, it's finding a new marketplace, a new market, even in your own host country, to expand it and then find the opportunity to expand globally. Another strategy is starting a chain, like a restaurant, retail, or business service that's easily produced and can be turned from a distance is all you need to launch a chain. But you must be cognizant of what made the first location a success. Was it the location, your staff, or you? If it is just you, then the duplication is only possible through detailed operation plans and sharing staff between locations. You will need to duplicate the plan for your first location while meeting increased customer demands. Starting a chain gives you your current staff a crack at management duties, training opportunities, and an opportunity to expand their horizons. What this means, if you have a self-owned small business such as a restaurant, and you're able to be a very significant business and a successful business in a local community, well, that's great. But sometimes it's just the reputation of the business owner or the staff. If you're going to start creating a chain, you want to make sure you have in-depth training for the new store locations, that you don't lose that culture or that aspect of why customers come to your brand. Make sure the food is consistent if you're in a restaurant, or the experience, whatever type of service you're doing, and ensure that no matter what happens when you start expanding your locations, that you don't lose the overall core essence of what made your business successful in the beginning. And this is important from a chain perspective. Now, a chain can then go globally. Successful chains over time have been the ones based on different perceptions, based on their culture, their value, their price value, and what they're providing to consumers. Fast food chains, quite frankly, is based on the fact that they have value. They've made a name for themselves based on the ingredients of their food and the price value that they've been driving for their consumers, and their marketing techniques. Your marketing is very important. If you want to become a chain and expand globally, you want to make sure your marketing fits that foreign market, especially if you're going from one country to another. Another key strategy to expand your business is to do a franchise or licensee. You don't always have to go into an expanded business opportunity by owning it. You can franchise it out. It is not always the most efficient way globally, but it can be done. You can franchise your business, into different markets. You just have to understand from a global perspective, the cost may be higher or lower depending on where you go. There could be real estate investments, especially for a franchise. The franchisee at times is the one who's going to, undertake the local community or real estate cost. So you want to make sure that that partnership between you and that foreign franchisee and licensee is, well equipped to understand that there might be issues with them expanding based on certain costs. Licensees can carry less risk, but demands giving you up a certain amount of control. So if you license over a name versus a franchise where you're kind of still helping operate a business, licensing the name, you kind of just you're giving away your name and your branding, but you don't have control of how they operate their business. This is a sense of you need to let go of that control of having to operate the business and just signing over your name and trademarks. But this can be done. At times for brands to go international, I've worked for a brand of clothing where for them to be global, they just had to license over the name, but let that foreign country take over the name and then develop the fashion trends that fit that country. So the fashion trends you see of a certain name brand in the United States could be different in Asia or Mexico or Canada for that matter. It's because the fashion trends and especially fashion change from country to country. So a brand to license their name, well, they mainly operate in the United States and license it over to a foreign market is one way to expand your name of your business globally, but you may lose and give up that control of what type of fashion, what type of clothes and branding is going on out there in the foreign markets. But that's one strategy if you want to expand globally. The sixth strategy to expand globally in your market is to join forces, create a strategic alliance. At the end of the day, mergers and acquisitions occur all the time because they want to expand into new markets. Perhaps there's a business in one market that's doing really well and another company wants to tap into that market. Well, it's a lot easier sometimes it's easier said than done to just buy another company, merge with them because they already have an established footprint in that foreign market you really want to get into. But you have to make sure you understand all the merger and acquisition parameters, the cost to do this, the impact to humans and their jobs, the processes and technology, and all the things it's going to take to enter that foreign market. However, again, if a business is already established in one foreign market, it can be easier for another company to just partner with them, create a strategic alliance, and just go ahead and partake and then enter into that foreign market. So we just took a look at the 6 different types of strategies into looking into how you can expand your business globally. Well, after you kind of identify which strategic route you want to take, once again, whether that's finding a strategic alliance or merger or acquisition opportunity, or licensing or franchising your business, or launching a new product or service, any of those strategies, you need to conduct your implementation and formulation in the same manner. So this slide will give you the kind of overall global strategy formulation and how you put it all together into context. The first step is to the assessment and adjustment of the core strategy. It's that thing we talked about at the very beginning. It's that market competitive analysis, that internal analysis. What is the overall strategy you're looking to implement? What kind of business are you looking to expand? The market research tied to that to understand your marketplace and your consumers and everything you need to do to put all that together. Then it's the formulation of the global strategy. It's that target market we talked about in segments. What are you going to do to target your countries? What type of market research are you going to implement to understand what markets and segments make sense for your business? And then your competitive strategy. We talked, at depth about target markets and how to segment your audiences, but how are you going to be competitive? What type of marketing campaigns are you going to do to differentiate yourself from the rest of the foreign market? What types of market research on the values and customs of the cultures in your foreign market are you going to adhere to and adopt in your marketing competitive strategy? That's very important. Then once you take all that into consideration, you have the development of your global marketing program. Within that, what types of marketing vehicles and mediums are you going to go after? Is it media, television, radio? Is it going to be print media? Is it going to be digital marketing and media via social media networking, or is it going to be all through email advertisements? What type of advertising in general are you going to do to launch your new product or service in a foreign market? And then it's implementation. It's the organizational structure and control, the oversight of the actual implementation of the strategy. Who is the business leader? Who's overseeing the strategy? Understanding who are the key players that are going to execute the strategy. What are all the operational elements of what it's going to take to go out there and execute the strategy? All that is in the implementation phase of a strategic planning process for global expansion. So let's talk about these in more depth. Formulating the global marketing strategy. So when you get to this point of understanding how you're going to develop your marketing strategy, you first already understand what you're going to do, what business you're going to go after and what foreign markets you really want to establish yourself in. So it's a formulation of a series of strategic decisions. You have a lot of decisions to make at this point in formulating your global marketing strategy. The first is the choice of competitive strategy. What is it about your product that's different from the rest of the market? Are you in a cost leadership position? Do you have the position to make your products cheaper and get them out to the market faster than the other businesses in your market? Do you have a differentiated product or service? What makes your product different? What value can you provide to your consumers that the other products in the market can't provide? And what's the overall focus of your business and service? What is it about your products or service that's going to stand out and make a unique customer proposition value for the foreign market? Then your country market choice, concentration or diversification. Are you going to be concentrated into just one singular unified foreign market? Or are you going to diversify yourself and go into multiple markets at the same time? Or can you diversify yourself over a period of time? Perhaps you expand globally in a very process-oriented manner where you start out one country, then over time you expand into another, and then another. Or do you want to expand into multiple countries at the same time? And then you have to understand the factors in your country market selections. What are the standalone attractiveness qualities of that market? What is it about that market that makes you really want to expand into that market beyond the fact that maybe the customers will, adopt your products? Is there something else about the market? Is it the growth opportunities? Is it the fact that it's easier to do business there? Or is it just the fact that, it's a foreign market that you really want to test for multiple personal reasons? Those are things you have to consider. What's the global strategic importance of the market? Is that market going to be something that's going to thrive and be sustainable for your business? Or is it going to be a short-term gain to a long-term vision that you have to expand into more countries? And obviously you want to understand the possible synergies offered by that foreign market. Are there synergies between your host country and that foreign market that can really just be easily translated over and to where your consumers are going to adopt your product or service quite easily? When expanding your business, though, there's definite strategy pitfalls you want to avoid. And these are things you want to make sure you don't do whenever you're expanding your business. The first one is insufficient local market research. You can't expand globally if you don't know enough of that foreign market. If you don't understand who your customers are, their customs, their values, their cultural dynamics, the political dynamics, the legal dynamics of that foreign market, the shopping behaviors, the competitors, and all that market research we've been talking about. If you do any of one of those areas insufficiently, you're going to have a problem implementing your strategy. The second is the tendency to overstandardize the product. Basically what this means is if you feel like your product is simple enough to just go into any foreign market without doing the research that the consumers truly need the product or that they can adopt the product for a specific use, if you overgeneralize it and don't do enough of that research, you're not going to see whether or not you're going to be successful with that product or service in that foreign market. So you need to do that research. You need to understand that it's not as simple as, well, if my host country needs the product, so does that foreign market. You need to go out there and do market research to understand if your product or service is going to be sustainable in that foreign market. The other pitfall to avoid is inflexibility in planning and implementation. And just in strategy planning in general, you need to be flexible. You may do your research and have a plan, but over time, factors come up, barriers, challenges, variables come into the way that you didn't plan for in the beginning, and you need to adapt to that and pivot your direction to still see your strategy into fruition. If you're not flexible with change, then you're going to have a long-term issue with your strategy implementation. The not invented here syndrome. What this means is that you need to avoid expanding globally into markets where they don't adopt your product, period. And that mindset that if they didn't invent it, they won't welcome your product. You need to find global business partners that will understand that while you didn't invent the product, they will adopt it. And the same if you're going to be someone who's going to license out your brand. That you need to, as we talked about before, be comfortable with someone else in a foreign market who licensed your product to have control over how they operate in your business. So 2 ways to avoid the not invented here syndrome is: 1, ensure the local managers participate in the development of global brand marketing strategies, and encourage local managers to develop ideas for regional or global use. What this means is that the entities and the managers who are going to manage your product overseas and globally need to be part of all your strategy planning from the beginning, so they can adopt your plan and be someone who you can trust and be an ally for your strategic plan to expand globally. The next thing to talk about is foreign investments. We talked about foreign investments in an earlier lecture, but it's this point where you want to expand globally that you need to understand how you're going to go to market. Firms invest to enter markets or assure themselves of sources of supply. And there's a variety of ways to do this. The first is a foreign direct investment. Again, this is an equity investment to create or expand a permanent interest in a foreign enterprise. It's basically making an investment into a business that you believe is long-lasting, sustainable, and permanent. The next is a portfolio investment. It's the purchase of stocks or bonds internationally. So you're invested into the stocks of a company, not necessarily into the actual interest of being a particular partner in the business, but you just want to have a piece of their market share. The next is major foreign investors. More than 45,000 multinational corporations with 280,000 affiliates globally. This is a huge number of foreign investors from multinational corporations. If you think about the number of 280,000 affiliates globally, the terms foreign and domestics may no longer apply. What this means is that there's so many foreign investments out there these days that you could be someone who's investing into multiple countries and multiple foreign markets at any given point, that you don't have a domestic investment anymore. You're so saturated and so scattered with all your investments that it's more broad in nature. So in conclusion, global expansion is a major token of any business plan. Establishing an entity or entering into another country is a long-term plan. Therefore, you should take a proactive approach when entering a new market. Do your research and make sure your entire team is aligned with your long-term strategic plan. Do your research, ensure you understand all the variables of entering the new market. Make sure everybody that's a part of the strategic plan buys into it from the beginning, and implement with all the resources you need. And therefore, a global expansion is a lot better off with those things conducted than any area of those being insufficient or not truly planned out. Thank you so much for your time this evening, and I hope you enjoyed the lecture. Thank you.